Hey, my cyber babies, it's the even more fabulous Dr. Mother Love coming to you live and in living color. It'll move in a minute. I have that handsome fella right there. Just because I'm married don't mean I'm blind. I know good looking men when I see good looking men. I don't care what y'all say. This handsome fella is Darian Dauchan. Did I say it right?
Hey, that's right. You got it. You nailed it. Boom.
So now let's talk about he's an actor, he's a performer. He's in a new piece coming out called The Joyride. And we're gonna get to the Joyride shortly. Let's just find out about you. Don't worry about the picture being stuck in an unstick. It's all about you. So tell me about Darian. Where'd you grow up? What it was like for you when you was like 11 years old, if you can remember being 11?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. I'm an actor, writer, and musician. At 11 years old, my story is as an artist, I think the three biggest influences of my life are my mom, my dad, and my sister. And I remember at 11 years old, my dad and we would go to watch science fiction movies. That was kind of like our thing.
Mhm.
And my sister was my best friend. So a lot of the like hip hop and stuff that I do in my own work comes from her, and all that Afrocentricity and stuff like that, and social consciousness came from her. And then my mother, who was a devout Christian, a lot of like my morals and ethics and the projects that I work on, like the Joyride, are about this notion of kind of like a social gospel, if you will, about ethics and doing the right thing and really finding your own integrity in challenging times, which is a lot of what the Joyride is about.
Well,
So
but did he just say integrity? Well, alrighty then, sir. And that's where we're lacking in a lot of places because we think well, it happened to them and they're all right. It happened to me. I'm all right, but nobody wants to get in and talk about what the real issue is because it's easier to sugarcoat it. Which to me is kind of stupid because if you sugarcoat an issue, it's this one day the sugar gonna wear off, it's gonna dissolve. Then what you gonna have? This ain't like now and later. Eat something now, save some for later. So we have to get. So they motivated. Where are you from originally?
originally from San Francisco, the Bay
Oh,
Area, which is I'm really excited because with this piece with the Joyride, we're actually heading back. We're doing the Bay Area tour, so I'm really excited to be able to see my dad and some of my friends up there. So yeah, Yay area represent.
yeah, okay. That's where the creative people go. I love San Francisco.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
except it rained too much. I'm like Seattle. That rain a lot.
That's Seattle. That's
They got.
Seattle.
They
Yeah,
got.
San Francisco, Bay Area, we get a little foggy, but yeah,
And
we're
that's
not. It doesn't
about it.
rain too much.
This weather we're having out here in California is just spazzo crazy. One day
Oh
it's
yeah.
112 degrees, and the next day it's 52 degrees. You don't know whether to put on your long johns and take off your but what you don't know what to do. We just go with the flow. Tell us about you getting when the bug first hit you that you knew that this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah, so you mentioned 11. So I think at 10 years old, I was cast in The King and the musical The King and I. And guess who I was? I was the king.
Well,
And guess what? It
color me
was,
surprised.
yes. And so it's been downhill ever since because,
Well, no, it
it's
doesn't
great
go.
to play the king at 10 years old, and then since
How
then I have
cool
to
is
play the
that
king.
though? What did that do for your psyche and your ego?
I
I'm
know,
king
exactly. To have all the other students like bow at you and stuff like that, it's great.
okay,
So,
and you gotta. I learned this the hard way. Well, it was funny to me. Our oldest grandson is into the theater as well. He got
mm,
all this talent from me. Everything he know, he got it from me. I'm taking full and absolute credit. And so he was in daycare. And
right.
so they had an episode where the teachers and the aides that had the little kids sit around in a circle on the
Right.
floor. My grandson didn't sit on the floor. She said, well, you got to sit on the floor, baby. He said, oh, no, no, no. I'm a prince. My head should be higher than everybody else's head.
Ooh, I love that. I
Now,
love
see,
that.
see,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
interesting too. You're saying that, and that's just reminding me too, as we've been working on the Joyride, as my character Kenzie, we've been talking about, he is a character who has spent almost 3 decades in prison and was incarcerated. But we talked about how there is kind of like a spiritual element to him, that there is a regalness to him, and we talked about with the costuming about like how can I have kind of like something that feels like almost like crown like, you know what I mean? And so it's good that we're tying it together. It's like this notion of being able to carry yourself in a regal way. I think is really really important, especially for us, as people of color. So I
and
love
and
that.
and,
I love to hear
and to,
that.
to to be a black man in this country, in this business, in the theater, you got skin in the game. You do this, you train, you keep growing, you keep getting better every day. Are you your own biggest critic?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think in a lot of ways, yeah, for sure. I think that, like, for example, I definitely don't read any of my reviews until well after it's over. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because I don't want to get anything in my head. But yeah, I think in general,
No,
I think
telling
there's a
me
lot.
I cuss them out.
Okay, all right. So if I yeah, hopefully if it's no bad
It's gonna be
reviews, then you don't have
peaceful.
to cuss anybody out, right? So
Right.
so yeah,
It's gonna
yeah.
be peaceful, but you let them know. Not don't get crazy, because I got mother love. You know how crazy she is. Because I
Hmm.
will do it. I'll do a drive by. Oh yes, I will.
Oh Lord,
So
a
what they
drive
gonna
by
do?
of love. I'm hoping, right?
Oh yeah, it's good and well. I'm full of love. I just don't take any crap anymore. I don't
Right.
have to. I've been allergic to BS for a long time. Tell me straight. This is an adult business. Act like an adult.
Hmm.
Don't come at me talking to me like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I want to be the dumbest one in the room, and I'm a pretty smart cookie. Yeah, I'm just saying. So when did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
I mean, honestly, I think it was at the age of 10 when I was
Mhm.
when I was, and I think from
When you got to play
there,
the king.
yeah, just from being the king, I knew that it was a lot of fun. And I think, as you get older, there's like ebbs and flows of what the craft and your relationship to it means, and that can change and vary. But it's still, highly enjoyable. It's still incredibly challenging. And like you said, I think what's beautiful about the theater is to be able to really have that kind of experience and that energy with the audience. And we talked before about like this notion of, with the pandemic, it's been such a beautiful thing to be able to finally kind of come together again and be at these events. And I think what's really exciting about the Joyride is that, it's all around. It's a site specific project where the set is basically this vintage convertible, right? So we're doing
Mhm.
the whole play around this vintage convertible, which is really, really cool. I've never done anything like that before, but I'm really excited for the audience to kind of like experience that with us, to see these four friends who have come to have this amazing joyride, but realize that they kind of have an emotional reckoning that they have to deal with, both internally and externally, just with like the forces of the world and all that's going on. And so they have to really kind of contend with that and figure out, what does it mean to actually joyride, and how do you find joy in a world that feels like it's falling apart. You know what I mean? So, and then in
And
some ways not, right? It's like there's beauty and there's ugliness, and it's all those things. And so it's them four friends figuring it out.
and that's what it is.
Hmm.
And friendships, I don't know why people think, they're a piece of cake. They're not.
Yeah.
All relationships require work, require
Oh,
you to be
absolutely.
present if you
Yes.
want this relationship, when you want the relationship to go and grow.
Yeah.
Whether it's, your intimate relationships, your friendships with people. I mean, I've seen, a lot of people, they get into, they've been friends forever, gonna be for
Yeah.
ride or die friends, and then something comes along, it's like politics or religion, or they want to tell you what to do, and it rips at the fabric of
Oh
that
my
friendship.
God. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you get that trust back? And when
Yeah.
you when I was reading the piece about, the joy, I remember going on joy rides, and we never felt threatened. We
Right.
always hung out with our friends. You know,
Yep.
we we did a thing that could be called kidnapping. No, we did. That's taking somebody against their will. And we would commandeer the young fellas in the neighborhood that had a car. And I would go out there and do my thing, because I got a gift for gas. And I'd say, okay, come on, let me ride with you. Okay, y'all, come on. And it'd be six more chicks running out the bushes to get in the car with him. And
Yeah. Yeah.
joyride is fun. It's not supposed to be, that's when let your hair down. And it's
There you go.
convertible,
Yeah.
you know.
And the music too. That's the other
Oh
thing
yeah,
about it too.
that's what I
Was
wanted to ask you about that, because the
yeah.
thing when I was watching the trailer, it's got a nice bouncy beat to it.
Well, here's the amazing thing. There's a band from the Bay Area called Audiopharmacy, and they scored the whole thing. And the music has been incredible and like uplifting. And we've been bumping it like all through rehearsal. It's been really, really dope to have, And I think we're gonna, when we go up to the Bay, I think we'll be meeting a lot of the musicians up there. But it's been awesome to be able to use their amazing music within the piece, and that's really, kind of the driving driving force. It's almost like its own character. There's a couple of different characters in the play, but it's like the car is kind of its own character. The music is another character, and there's some other reveals that show up in the play
Don't
as
tell them
well.
everything. They gotta get tickets.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell them. I'm not gonna say anymore. I'm not gonna say anymore. But yeah.
Because what I mean, when you first what attracted you to the piece, and did you have to audition?
I did, yeah, and I'm glad you asked that. I honestly, it was written by Jesse Bliss, and I was drawn to the writing. There's this really, there's some really beautiful monologues in the play, and I won't reveal too much, but there was a really beautiful monologue about, again, my character Kinsey, who has just been out of prison for maybe like 3 years. He gets his car from his grandfather, and just a very moving monologue about his grandfather. And I won't say any more than that, but I read that and I was like, ooh, I really, really dig this. And I think just in general, I really was drawn to the concept and the theme of it. Jesse talks a lot about how this is a play that is about platonic love between four individuals. And sometimes, I feel like a lot of times we don't get a chance to really see that, just this notion of platonic love versus, oh, well, are they with each other? It's like, no, that's not what it's about. This is about four friends who have a deep bond with each other and really kind of think on the same wavelength, kind of finish each other's sentences, that kind of deal. And so it's beautiful to kind of watch them. It's almost like a slice of life, if you will, that you're kind of hanging out with these four friends. So
I'm glad you brought up the fact that it's platonic love, because
Yeah.
more often than not, people will say men and women can't just be
For
friends.
sure. Yeah.
Oh no, it's got to be something going on in there. Y'all doing something. Y'all too close. How you finishing her sentences? Why is that in your business?
Yeah.
I think the thing about that is people that don't have that are jealous and they're envious because they don't know how to, allow themselves to be open.
Right.
Allow themselves to have their feelings on their sleeves, to know that, I'm your friend and you're my friend. You could trust me.
Yes.
The difference between a good friend and a great friend. A good friend, you call me up. You say, "Oh, mother love, I done bashed him in the head. I don't know. He ain't moving. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna take this. I'm your good girlfriend. Don't touch anything. Don't call. Wait till I get there. You'll be all right. Your great friend, you call me up. My love, I done busted him in the head. I don't know what to do." I said, "Baby, don't worry. I'm coming with the shovels and the plastic."
Yeah, I mean that yes, I like what you said before about like this notion of like ride or die, right? And which is joyride. So I feel like that notion of like ride or die for sure. But there was something that I was reading recently that was talking about that there are different types of like intimacy, right? And we talk a lot about we only think of intimacy as like sexual intimacy, but it's like actually no, there's like intellectual intimacy, right? Where it's like sometimes if you're having a really amazing conversation with somebody, or emotional intimacy, where it's like wow, someone shares something that's really kind of deep and profound, and then you share something, there becomes an intimacy. And that happens a lot in this play, where there's a lot of kind of intellectual intimacy happening, but also emotional intimacy, where it's like, oh, we thought we were here to just kind of joyride, but actually we got all this stuff that we're dealing with, and I need to share with you so that I can move forward, and we're gonna do this together. And so there's that type of intimacy that happens as well.
And that can be scary too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
When you're trusting somebody with your innermost secrets, your innermost thoughts, where the pain comes from. And that takes a lot. That takes a long time to build that relationship up, so that you can be trusted.
And I think what's interesting about what you're saying too is like in the play too, that it does get ugly and it does get messy, because you're right, people do start revealing things, and it's not like life, like it's not like, hey, I just said this and everybody's accepting of it. And so there are some clashes that do happen within
Some
the play.
head knocking.
Yeah, and that's what makes it good, right? That makes it truthful and real.
Y'all had me at the title, the Joyride. Y'all had me. I was like, okay, been there, done that. I know what that means, and I know how painful that can be as well, and especially for especially people of color. and women and anybody that doesn't, doesn't fit into our little mold. And okay, you have to look like I want you to look. You have to be like I want you to be. And if you're not, then something is wrong with you. Not anything is wrong with me and my stupid crazy talk, that you got to live your life, my way, you
Yeah.
know. And that's where the trust factor comes in. And when you're on stage, you have to build up that trust, with the rehearsals, because oftentimes people in an ensemble might not have ever met each other, might not have worked together,
Yes, for
and now
sure.
you got to put this down and make this work and
Yes.
see it. And
Yeah, I
like
think
about
too. Yeah,
your
it's
grandfather, were
yeah.
you, were you close to your grandfather? You talk about your dad. Were you close to your grandfather?
That's a great question. Thinking about my two grandfathers. So on my dad's side, not so much.
Mm.
On my mother's side, both of my parents are from Texas, so
Mm.
we would see my grandparents on that side. I would say maybe like twice a year. I definitely have had moments with my grandfather that have
Mm.
been really, really good. He used to chew tobacco, so I know he used to have like the old like thing that
This
he would
for
spit in.
sure.
I was really gross. You know what I mean? And then I remember there was one time when I had a slingshot, and again we're in Texas. This is Longview, Texas. And I had the slingshot, and he was like, "Let me see that." And he used the slingshot, and I remember he hit the tree like perfectly. So I have some really awesome memories with my grandfather. Was also like a really great singer in church and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think some of it I kind of pulled from, and some of his, I mentioned in the play about how my grandfather had a great sense of humor. So some of that, all I have to do is kind of pull from my own grandfather on some of those moments. So yeah,
And that's the good part, because you don't have to make it up. You could just reminisce and get the feeling and the essence,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
something that you can go back those generations to know where you came from. When
yeah,
did you
yeah.
discover you? When did you stand in your purpose? When was Darian going, oh, I know at 10 you wanted to be on the stage, you wanted to be an actor.
hmm
Then if you weren't doing this, what would you do? And could you do something else?
Ooh, good question. I don't think so. I think they say that if you have like a calling, I know that for my own particular journey, there's definitely been like an evolution where I started as, just an actor. But then after I graduated from NYU, I started to want to use my voice a lot more. So
Mhm.
I got really involved in the spoken word scene, the poetry slam scene. I think from there is where I really was able to kind of find my voice, in terms of the kind of socially conscious stuff that I wanted to say, and then that evolved into music. And so I think in a lot of ways, when I look at the trajectory of my career, my evolution as an artist, I think what it all is under the umbrella of is me being a storyteller, right? And to me, that is that is where all the music and the poetry and the acting, it all kind of stems from that. But I know that that I am indeed a storyteller, and in fact, I know my sister did one of those DNA tests where we found out that we were from Guinea-Bissau, and Guinea-Bissau is a very
Wait,
small African
wait, say
country,
it again. You found out you were from where?
from an African country called Guinea-Bissau.
Now, where is that?
It's like on like the west. It's like West Africa.
Okay.
And I remember at initially we thought we were gonna be like from somewhere like Nigeria or something like that. So it's a very very small country. But what we found out was that Guinea-Bissau is known in particular for its African storytellers. So it's like, oh, this is like this is in our blood. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's how I look at it. That this is all the way it was supposed to be in
So the
terms of me being a
ancestors would
storyteller.
be very proud of you. They are very proud of you that you could, because this business will chew you up and spit you out in pieces. And you, for the duration, you looking for the, where's my other big toe? Wait a minute, did they step on that and take that from me too? That's why you gotta have the metal. What makes you and keeps you strong? Because you can get lost in this business. If you're not prepared for the business part of it, you could
Yeah.
get lost.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, listen, I meditate every day. I'm doing a lot of yoga. In fact, I'm getting my hopefully I'm getting my yoga certification very soon. I'm in training right now. But all of those things I think help on a kind of on a mental and physical level, right? When we talk about, like you said, just the kind of the chaos of everything, I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of really kind of doing the self development work, you know. And I feel like I've been fortunate enough to be able to really kind of do the work in that way. And I think that's helped me in terms of the ease and stuff that I find on stage. And there's actually a line in the play where he talks about Kinsey talks about if only to keep the peace within, whatever that may take is the concentration. And I was like, ooh, yeah. So there's there's a lot of parallels to, I think, you know, Kinsey being, you know, incarcerated for all those years and having to really be able to find his own spiritual wellness, I think is something that I also really really connect with, because you're right. I think it's a chaotic world out there, and again, as it relates to joy, it's like you kind of have to do the self development work.
And you said the right thing. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do the work, and nobody ever said it was going to be easy. No,
Hmm.
listen, if this were easy, anybody could do it. It's when you go out there and you go, okay, God, okay, why would you have me? Well, why would you want to even send me to do it? Don't worry about how much. Don't worry about it. And you can't serve God, and you can't serve your supreme being, and serve fear and worry at the same time.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
it,
Yeah,
it
for
takes
sure.
up too much time, to be worried, and oh my goodness, you stand out there. Okay, so what, you fall on your face? I don't know if you're old enough to remember this toy. It was called a Weeble, and it was a blow up thing that had a round bottom, and you could punch it. And their tagline was, "We're Weebles. We wobble, but we don't fall down." And I'm like a Weeble. I might wobble, fall down and get hit, but I'm gonna bounce right back up.
I
And
love that. Yeah.
and you and
Yeah.
you have to learn from that. And a lot of people, when they get that lesson, or they see that it's gonna take a lot of work, I'm not gonna do all that. That's gonna take.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've been saying recently, like within the last couple of weeks, is trust the universe, like, right? Trust the universe, keep the faith, you know what I mean? And so I've been using that kind of like as a mantra, because I think, like you said, it's like there's so many, the roller coaster of life. There's so many ups and downs, and you just have to trust that you're at where you need to be. And two, like you said, it's also about doing the work, right? Is doing what you can to be in a place and a state where you're coming from a place of peace and not chaos, right? Something that I've also been doing recently is and I read this somewhere about, sometimes if you put aside a time in your day to do worry time, that means write out all the things you're worried about, right? So you do that for like 10 minutes. And so what you do is, when you like decide, like, this is going to be a time at 4:30 where I'm gonna write all the worry stuff out.
Mhm.
It kind of frees you up, so you can be like, no, it's not time to worry. We're gonna have that worry time at 4:30,
And
and then
leave
you can
it
keep
at four
moving.
thirty.
Exactly, right? Exactly,
And people,
exactly.
and this is
Yeah.
just in life in general. When bad things happen to some people, instead of them working through the process, keep going through. What did Winston Churchill say? He said, "If you're going through hell, keep going."
Mm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
keep going. Don't
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
stop. Just keep going. Richard Pryor, God rest his soul. Even though he had his demons and what have you, I remember him saying, when he set himself on fire, he said, "Oh, I done set myself on fire." And he said he just started running, 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 running. And he said that's what saved his life, because he did not stop.
Mm.
He lived quite some time after that bad incident. But
Yeah.
when you get there, and you're doing the work, and you've been in a position, you go, okay, this is it. What have I learned from this event? What
Yeah.
have I learned that's going to help me,
Right.
Darian? Whether it's going to be, leave that worry over here, and don't keep worrying about the same thing. Oh, because I'm gonna jack up. I can't hold on to worry, because I'm gonna do something else I ain't got no business doing properly.
For
Because that's what
sure.
I do. But it's
Yeah.
it's all about the work now. I'm very dignified.
It's hard, but it's hard to let go, right? I mean, that
But
is
that's
that we
what you
talk about the work. That is the work,
and
That.
they will hold a grudge. I know a lady. She's older than I am now, and I'm in my late earlies, and she has been holding this grudge since
Hmm.
she was 16 years old,
Yeah.
because somebody said something to her in the wrong way, and she like, I ain't gonna never let them get close to me again. You don't want people closes herself off.
Yeah.
Doesn't have. I don't even know. I've never met one of her friends that wasn't in her family. And the whole time I've been on, I never knew she had a girlfriend.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
I was surprised she got married. And he loved it when you get. Are you married? You got
Me?
kids?
Nope, I'm good. Nope, I'm single.
So,
I'm single. Go
okay,
ahead.
you looking? Because I know some people that like looking at
Okay,
you.
we'll
Listen.
talk. We'll talk later.
Okay. Listen, because they'll call me, Mother Love, is he married? I'm like, I don't know if he's married. Well, ask him. He sure is fine. I'm like, he a guest on my show. How trifling is that? When you call me up and want to let me pimping
Well,
out,
come to the show. Come to the show.
come to the
We're
show.
opening on Friday. So
So, the show. Let's talk about the joy ride and some more because one of the things that attracted me in the trailer.
Mhm.
Two guys are sitting in the back, and I think your character is driving.
I'm driving. Yeah,
Okay,
it's my grandfather's car, and I
okay,
also just want to give a shout out to my co-stars Reginald P. Lewis, Ashlee Olivia, and Marlene Luna Castañeda. So it's the four of us, and we talked before about how as an ensemble, I think that what hopefully when people come see the show, there's a really beautiful chemistry that the four of us have together. Mhm.
you could see that in the trailer, and
Yeah, right.
I could see the
Exactly. Yeah.
camaraderie of
Yeah.
the people in the back. They holding on to each other. You're not afraid to touch one of the greatest things
Yeah.
that I got to see in my lifetime that
Hmm.
and continue to see is when we were growing up, boys and men weren't allowed to show their feelings.
Yeah.
They weren't
Yeah.
allowed to say they were angry. They were mad, they were hurt, they were crushed, they were sad, they felt lonely. Man up. Go ahead, man. I'm like, so what is he supposed to do with his feelings? Okay, because he's a guy. He's not allowed to feel. He's not allowed to love outside of what you think they should be loving or who they should be loving. And it really crushed a lot of men, especially a lot of men in my community, because they did not know where to let that off. And
Yeah.
even when they were full of all that angst, we had some place to go. We had art classes. We joined a band. You as a cheerleader. You couldn't just be sitting around like a bump on a log. We couldn't just sit there like they do now. My mother used to call it the idiot box, the TV.
Right.
She was
Yeah.
like, y'all dumb enough as you are. I'm not gonna let this idiot box make you even dumber. And we only had 3 channels at the time.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
we had to go do things. You had to participate. You went outside and you ran and you jumped and you played. And we
Yeah.
don't get to see that in our kids. What went through your head when they took arts out of the schools?
Say that one. Say
I
it again.
said, what went through your head as an artist when they took arts out of the schools, especially out of the public schools? And kids had no art class, no band class, no stage class, no acting class. They couldn't go do Pirates of Penzance or The King and I. And
Hmm.
they got all this energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you said that, and that made me think right away because I'm also like a hip hop artist, and so in a lot of those cases, hip hop was birthed out of this sense of they had gotten rid of the music program, right? And
Hmm.
so as a result, you had black and brown people being like, all right, well, I have these turntables that my father has, so I'm going to be creative in that way, right? Or if the art program was gone, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do some graffiti on the streets. You know what I mean? So in a lot of ways, when you say that, it makes me think that, that art kind of like finds a way. They say Dougie Fresh, right? He was taking trumpet when he was in school, but then they got rid of the music program, so then he started beatboxing, right? And so I think that there is something about this notion of like creative resilience that I think is super important, and I hope that young people are continuing to do that. That it's yeah, that you need it.
How excited were you, or what did you think when they made hip hop an Olympic sport?
Oh, it was dope, wasn't it? The breakdancing,
What?
yes, yeah, it was dope.
Oh,
I was so glad that they
I
were
thought they
there.
did an excellent job. Them kids, you could
Yeah.
tell they trained, and they're and the skateboarders and the dancers out here. I mean, the ones you see on the street, that they have talent. And when you got talent like that, that's
Yeah.
truly
Yeah.
talent unknown from God. And you can't harness that. You have to allow these creative people to have that space to create, to speak their truth. And then I heard after, everybody be all excited about that. Then they say, okay, we won't bring that back as a sport.
Is that what happened, or
That's
is?
what they said
Oh
already.
no,
They
I hope
didn't
that's
even.
not true. I hope
Yeah.
that's not true. Yeah.
See, I no, I called the Olympic Committee. Yeah, they did. They said they weren't bringing it back, and
They're not
I
gonna
don't
bring
think
it back.
they
Oh
got enough.
no.
Mhm.
Oh, well. The other thing I was going to say too is that because this also pertains to the Joyride, where one of the characters, Raphael, he's a dancer, who is suffering from long COVID, and so there's a line in there where he says that they don't, that they don't, nobody takes his dance, or people don't take his dance seriously. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
when he says that line, I was thinking about the Olympics. You know what I mean? And so, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope that hopefully that's not done yet. We have,
Hopefully that's
what is
not
that?
true.
Another 4 years to like fight that back because they
And
need
they're
to.
going to be in LA
They are. Yeah.
2028. We got the
Hmm.
Olympics again.
Yep.
So now, because you have such a presence, I can see, you just exude a great light. Do you ever go back and do you ever go to the schools and talk to the young people about the importance of, being involved in the arts and, going to plays and not just be in them, go see them. As an artist, I've been doing this for a long time. I love a live performance. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's because every audience is different.
Everywhere is different. This is true. Yep. Yep. Yep.
I've seen plays when you go see them a couple of times, you go, oh, I didn't get pick that up over there. Why didn't pick this up over here? And I also understand that while as you guys are doing the play, you're going to have a Q&A session
We
after.
are. Yes. Yes.
Why is that
On.
important?
Oh, because we have to be in conversation with the community. I think that the Roots and Wings project specifically is like a socially transformative theater company. With the mission to provide space for voices of the unnamed and unknown and misunderstood. And so this is an opportunity for us to actually be in conversation with the community. So that's incredibly important. Yeah, and just what you were saying before is like I work with a lot of young people. There's an organization I work with called Get Lit, where we do like a lot of spoken word and stuff like that. So I'm always kind of in conversation with young people. So yeah.
I just love them. Even though I know that teenagers make you understand why some species eat their young, and we made it through our teenage years, and those can be some really tumultuous years. And a lot of they always say the greatest artists come from the greatest pain. Do you agree with that?
Ooh, that's a good one. I maybe not. I think that sometimes we romanticize the pain part. I think that that you have to have like this really like tumultuous life, and I don't think that necessarily has to be. One, I worry about how healthy that is in the long run. But also too, I think sometimes young people get a bad rep. I have a niece who is doing very well. She's a dancer. She's often at Fordham University right now in the Alvin Ailey program, and so in my family, we talk a lot about the importance of having multi-generational conversations, right?
Mhm.
That the elders aren't too dismissive of the young people, and the young people aren't too dismissive of the elders. And as a elder millennial,
Mhm.
I think I'm kind of in the middle of it. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to have a conversation. I know it was like maybe a year and a half ago where my nephew and my dad and myself, I think we spent like a week before my nephew went off to Howard University, which is where my sister also went. Yeah. And so, anyways, we had spent a week just the three of us. We were like the three amigos, and it was just awesome. Like so those multi generational conversations, I think, are really important to have if you can. If you have those people in your life. So yeah.
It's really a lot better now because people are being a lot more open. As I was growing up, they didn't talk about money. They never talked about their finances, other than our mother would say, "Romance without finance is a nuisance." That was my financial work that I got from her. Don't even go, don't be bothered with somebody broke. You can do bad all by yourself. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And we were really fortunate that we were able to sit at the feet of our great grandmother and my grandmother and my mother and
Yeah.
myself. So at one time, there were 6 generations of my family living at one time. And so
Mm,
to share the stories, from when they were growing up, and sitting there, and they were the greatest storytellers.
yeah.
I didn't even know that one of my relatives couldn't read because he
Yeah.
told such great stories, and he was very
Yeah.
articulate, and he could just make the whole page jump off. And I didn't know he couldn't read.
Right.
He didn't
Yeah.
learn how to read till he was in his 60s.
Hmm.
And I was
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
how do you not know how to read? That's something we take for granted.
For
There are a lot
sure.
of people in this country that still don't know how to read. And
Yeah.
that's our responsibility to make sure that they can see the words, they can understand the words. And education, streetwise, bookwise, it all comes together. Speaking of streetwise, what did you learn about Darian, just being in the community, in the neighborhood, who was going to be that guy? Are you that guy that they come to for guidance, or are you that guy they come to for guidance?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, as a teaching artist and a mentor, I remember so years ago when I first started doing poetry, there was a really amazing dude named Willie Perdomo, who was a poet. This is when I lived in New York. And that guy just had like an aura to him, really just had such a profound love of poetry. And your listeners and viewers can check out Willie Perdomo later, but he also an amazing poet. But I just remember being like, I was kind of like shadowing some of his classes, and I saw the way that he that the young people resonated with a lot of what he was saying, and he just had that really, that cool, chill
Mhm.
aura about him. And earlier this year, I taught a hip hop theater class at UC Davis, and I remember feeling, I was like, oh my God, I've kind of become like Willie Perdomo. I've become like the chill, like, mentor, teacher, educator, if you will. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am kind of that guy. So yeah.
And it's cool to be that guy. It's really cool to be that guy because especially for young men in our community, they really don't know where to go, uh, what to do. As long as they're both decent people, the parents, because sometimes parents don't make good parents. You know,
Yeah.
they don't. They don't make good parents, and then you can't teach what you don't know. So if you growing up and you never got hugged or kissed or validated or felt special or important in your family, you might take that with you and think that, well, if my parents and them don't like me, maybe nobody else is gonna like me either. That's when you go into you.
Yeah. Well, I
And
like what you said before about, like, again, as it relates to the play, because you're right. I think even, with the four of us, that in the play, we are very kind of like affectionate. And you're right. When I hear about people who would say that, their father never hugged them, I was like, oh my God. My dad I was fortunate, one, to have a father around, right? But also was very affectionate. And I see how like that does have like a ripple effect on your life and the way that you're affectionate with others. So yeah.
and send out a good vibe. And good dads. They always say, all black men. I know a lot of excellent fathers. I watch a lot of young men come up and become excellent fathers, but they don't want to talk about that part. They don't want to talk about Darian and his artistry and being a theater person and doing performances live in front of an audience. Oh no, we don't want to hear about that because that's too positive. That's the stuff I want to hear about. That's the stuff I want to know. That's
Yeah.
what people need to see. They need to see the goodness in each other. And first, you got to find the goodness in you and realize that if you don't like you, how you gonna get anybody else to like you?
Yeah, yeah, and as that relates to this notion of finding your own joy, I do think that what you're talking about is like there is kind of an energy and a force that I think that we have to push back against, right? Which is that we talked about this just with media and and how you are using your devices, how you're using the tools in front of you. But I think that all pertains to getting to joy, right? Which is if you're kind of bogged down by all of that, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to find peace and calm and joy. And so we all have to kind of do the work of navigating our way through through our modern society in that way.
And I remember Dr. Maya Angelou. I got to have a whole hour and a half to her of her
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
by myself, and it was just Dr. Maya, Mother Love and God, and they had to put
Wow.
us out the studio. They
That's
were
awesome.
she was a guest on the show I was involved in, and I thought she had left. I honestly thought she had left the studio, and
Hmm.
I'm coming around the studio, and she goes, "Come in, darling." She can make you just I mean, she was like talking to one of my elders because she was one of my elders. She didn't talk down, you know. This is
Yeah.
you. I mean, she's a poet laureate. You, this is me. And we sat there for an hour and a half, and I got so many nuggets from her. One of the biggest things that I got from her was when she said, "You know, I can tell you why people love you." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "People love being around you. They might forget what you said, they might forget what you done, but they're never gonna forget how you made them feel."
Yes, yes. And what's great about that is that theater is that way too, right? Where it's like you're not gonna remember all the words and the language, but you are gonna remember the feeling about what that night was. You know what I mean? That's what you're gonna take with you because theater is ephemeral, right? It's there and then it's gone. But what you do usually remember is you remember the feeling of what it meant to be out there. And to see that vintage convertible and to hang out with those characters, you're gonna remember some energy of that, and it's not gonna be the lines, So yeah.
How you make us feel. And I want, when I come out of the theater, I want to feel something.
Hmm.
It might be a good feeling, it might be a bad feeling, it might be something that they said and just ripped the band-aid off of something I might have been put, just keep adding a new band-aid to. I want to feel something, you know, good, better, and different. And most of the time I come out of it, especially when it's a good piece. And I
Hmm.
just, just looking at the trailer and just watching the camera, just even for that one little short time. And what's the trailer, like a minute 50 seconds long? The
Right.
music, the music will get you, the car will get you, and just
Right.
watching you guys' faces. And it wasn't like I'm hitting you over, you trying to hit us over the head with it. It was just like really, really fluid. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's going to be fun to be on. So tell people how they can, get the tickets and what's going on and when can we see it down here?
Yes, so we are opening this Friday. It's going to run from September 20th to October 12th on Fridays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. You can go to, it's going to be at the Graf Angeles Gallery Arts District, which is amazing. There's a lot of graffiti artists that this is kind of like their space. It's at 1100 East 5th Street at Seton Street in downtown Los Angeles. And our Bay Area tour is going to be happening on October 18th through the 20th. And if you want to learn more, you can go to the rootsandwingsproject.com.
Let's talk about
Yes,
the Roots and Wings.
the
Okay.
rootsandwingsproject.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talk about Roots and Wings. As soon as I saw that, I said, okay, I love that right there. Roots and Wings. So tell me how you got involved with Roots and Wings and what is their mission statement?
Yeah, well, this is like my first project with them, and
Okay.
again, Jesse is the founder of the Roots and Wings project, and Jesse Bliss, who wrote and is directing the piece. And as I mentioned before, the Roots and Wings project, it's a politically charged, socially transformative theater company with a mission to provide stage and space for voices of the unnamed, unknown, and misunderstood. So they do a lot of projects like this that are site specific, that are experimental, that are kind of socially conscious.
Mhm.
And so I think for those reasons, I think I was really drawn to the piece in that way.
What would you say to young people, and what do you say to young people who are even, just looking at it? Sometimes they're like looking at it and, oh, I don't know if I want to be involved in that. But you can see the talent in them, like they're like diamonds in the rough, as it were. What do
Mhm.
you say to young people to get them engaged and to keep them engaged when they have so much white noise around them from the internet and social media and their friends and all of this and all of this, to teach them how to, what you say, compartmentalize it or whatever it is that they need to do to help them heal on the inside?
Yeah. I think that, some of it has to do with, being able to, hopefully, to be able to find a creative outlet. I just think, again, thinking about my niece and how involved she got into to dance and how dance has been kind of her guiding force. And as a result, has led her to New York, which has been a beautiful thing to kind of witness. But to be able to find something that, is allowing you the opportunity to express yourself creatively. And again, that's what, even with using the tools that you have, I think is what's most important. So if you have an app that allows you to be creative, you draw or you want to make music. I mean, that's the beautiful part about it, is that you do have the opportunity to really create a lot of awesome things. It's just a matter of how you're using it, right? It's like, yeah, you can be on Instagram or you can be making something, right? So there's this thing where it's like you could be learning how to play a musical instrument, or you can be watching Netflix, right? And either thing that you do, right, it's like what you do a lot of, you're going to get good at. So you can get good at watching Netflix shows, right? Or you can get good at playing the piano, right? So I think that's what I would suggest, is that if you can find a creative outlet that really resonates with you, right? Find what really resonates with you, and see where that takes you. See where that takes you.
It could be when you're standing in your purpose, and I firmly believe this. I not just believe it, I know this for a fact. None of us are here by happen chance. None of us are mistakes. Each and every one of us brings a unique gift to the universe. Now, it's your job, your assignment to find out what that is. And I think that's what youth is for. Try a whole bunch of stuff. How do you know you're not going to like ballet? How do you know that you won't be able to learn to play the guitar? Have you tried it? Well, I don't think I should. Have you tried it? I'd rather work to do something and fall flat on my face than to sit up and go, well, I would, I should, I could have. How would I know?
Right.
I never would have thought in 100 years I would get paid to be a talk show host.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
My mother said to me one time, she came out here to visit me, and she said, so what is it that you do? I said, Mother, I'm a talk show host. So she said, wait a minute. Well, I thought you got a contract. I'm like, I do have a contract. She goes, they pay you to run your mouth? I said, no, Mother, I'm a talk show host. So you telling me that you don't con these people? She told me, you don't con these people into paying you to run your mouth when don't they know you gonna run your mouth anyway? I was like, well, I thought that was a pretty smart. Never would I ever would have thought it. Never. And so when you're standing in your purpose, the universe will open up.
Yeah. And you don't know where it'll take you. I think that's what the beautiful thing. You don't know where it'll take you, but it's all a journey.
And what they say, a long journey, 2,000-mile trek starts with taking one step. And you got to be willing to step in. And so what, it doesn't work out the first time or the third time or the 15th time. Just don't give up. You going through hell, like Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, keep going. Just keep going. So when this run is over and you're going up to the Bay Area as well, because you said sometimes it's what did you say kind of specific it was? An venue center.
Site specific. Site specific.
I know it's some kind of fancy word right there.
Yeah. Because we're doing it outside, right? And so it's around this vintage convertible. So I think the areas that we're going to be in Sacramento, we're going to be in Berkeley, and we're going to be in San Francisco. And again, you can learn more at the rootsandwingsproject.com. But it's because of that, the spaces that we're in, it's like the chairs and stuff are kind of around the convertible. And so that's what makes it really, really cool.
What do you want people to get from you all's performance? What kind of feeling would you want them to walk away from the theater with?
That's a great question. I think it's, one is, we talked before about like, you want to be able to feel something. I think it's also about, having a conversation. But ultimately, I hope that people feel seen and that they're able to find some solidarity with what the characters are going through. Because I do feel like there is a universal feeling of how do you express joy when there's just so much human suffering going on in the world. And that's really what the play is investigating and exploring. And I hope that through that there is a catharsis by being with us through that journey as these four characters really figure out what that means. So yeah.
So how did you prepare for the role of a former inmate? Mm-hmm. Because from what I remember, your character has been in jail for like 30 years.
Yeah.
So how did they make that work? That you've been in jail for 30 years and you do they age you? Because you could still get away with being like 20. I would card you.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Well, black don't crack. So first of all,
black don't crack. I've seen some of them toe up from the floor. Now let's not get stupid.
Yeah, but I would also say this. I mean, listen, we know that the way mass incarceration works, where people, they go in at a very young age, right? And so that is a very real thing. But my character in particular is based on two people that are actually in Jesse Bliss, who the writer and director is. These are people who are in her life. One is a guy named Frankie Carrillo, who was actually running for state assembly, but he was exonerated, and he spent 2 decades in prison. You can learn more about him. So you asked about some of the research. He was in a Netflix special called The Innocence Project. I think maybe there's an organization called the Innocent Project, and I think the Netflix special is called The Innocence Files, maybe. But it's on Netflix, but it's about his whole journey of getting exonerated. And we've had the pleasure of, Frankie is actually a producer on the piece, and it is his vintage convertible. So even just being able to spend time with him has been really, really incredible. And then there's another person that Jesse is close with, a guy named Tobias Tubbs, who had spent 3 decades in prison and had his sentence commuted. And so I think between those two is kind of like a combination of those two people in Jesse's life. And so to know that and to really be studying kind of Tobias's work and what Frankie's been doing, that was really kind of and I think I've been thinking a lot about how I want that to be. Every piece that I do is going to be dedicated to them, and making sure that I'm doing their story justice.
So now, have you written any plays, any pieces? Because you told me you do poetry.
I do. I mean, listen, you can.
Can I get one of them? Can you just give me a little bit of something of what you've written?
Oh, just off the cuff? Oh Lord, you didn't prepare me for that.
You supposed to be.
You're supposed to just know. I'm just supposed to know and just go in. Sure, I can do something. But yes, if you go to DarianDauchan.com, I do solo performance, I do poetry, I do audiobooks. So I do a lot of stuff too. So yeah, you can go to DarianDauchan.com. Let me see if I can do a poem very quickly, if I can remember it all. Here we go. Scribble, 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 scribble. This is the sound of me who speaks through ink, weapon mightier than the sword I command you to write. Use me as a vessel through which all blessings flow. Now go right. Right as if you're running a marathon and you're 15 yards away from the finish line. Right as if every letter was worth a dime. Right between the fine lines of genius and madness. Right to elevate. Right to create and attempt to be great. Right as if pounding at heaven's gate. Right as if you're late for a date and the girl is smoking. Right to end attention when you mention his, her name, and all the things she did to you. Right when you don't want to. Right because you have to. Right and right and right. Right and right and right. Right and right and right. Right because it's the only way you know how to make sense in a society is static, and that's why every day you go at it and write. Right. Now put me down and give praise to the pen, and tomorrow we'll start again, and then your dreams are here. Scribble. Hey, so that was the abbreviated version. Off the dome. Glad I remembered most of that.
I want y'all to know that y'all heard this and saw this like up close. He's talking about, wait a minute, if I can remember one.
Well, like you said, that's why I like
it's a good thing. It's a good thing we right here, because you would have got bit right here on your forehead. Right here, you'd have had a mother love hump right here on your forehead.
Oh,
that was beautiful.
Thank you.
And you didn't say, see, real poets don't have to use profanity. But sometimes you do. Sure. Sometimes you do, because some folk need to be cussed out. That seems to be the only thing that they understand.
I remember there was a poet that told me you should try to have work for, if you can, try to have work for everyone, and that's gonna like open you up. So I've learned to be able. I know how to I can perform for young people, yeah. Or you do the radio version, right? Sometimes that's what you do. So yeah, to be able to make it accessible to a lot of people.
A lot of people, and that's really what's important. When I look at the young people, it's like they can't even speak without saying, you know what I'm saying, or right. I'm like, think about what you want to say. And and when you just let that go, man, you just let that go like that. How does that come to you and your brain can just, I had to close my eyes so I can get the full essence of it. What is your process when you're writing poetry?
Well, I think it's a lot of craft, and repetition, 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 right? You want to be able to say it where it's almost like a mantra. You want to say it as if, I think that's what it's about, is that it starts to feel, I almost see it as like as a musician. They say John Coltrane played until his lips bled, right? And one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about recently, where I read something where this notion of discipline versus devotion, and that discipline, we use that word a lot, but it has a kind of rigid connotation to it. Whereas if you maybe think about it as devotion, then that frees you up and it makes it a little more, it gives you some more space and comfortability. So I think, all right, when John Coltrane was playing and practicing, was that discipline or was that devotion? Was it a devotion to craft and to, him thinking that his music was connecting him to God and the universe? And so I try to lead with that, with this notion of devotion and repetition, right? You do it enough times so that it looks almost like effortless, but it actually takes a lot of work, right?
A lot of work to do that. And
Yeah.
that's what separates the professionals from the amateurs. Professionals make it look like it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Amateurs just want to try to think they're going to just jump all over it. And everybody can't do everything. I tell people all the time, LeBron James and the basketball teams and the men and women, they make it look like so easy. I look at them, I'm like, I'm going to need a hip replacement. All that jumping around, put him in this chair. He probably would know what to do. He probably would, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Basketball, he makes it look easy.
Yeah, I remember somebody was saying something about Kobe Bryant. May he rest in power.
God bless his soul.
Yeah, but I know that they said I think he would do practices. He'd be there way before they even started the actual practices. He was just, practicing his shot, and then he would come in and he's like, yeah, you guys are actually like my second practice session. And so it's that kind of like devotion,
Can it
that
be?
I think.
Let me ask, but can it be both devotion and dedication?
Oh,
Can it be
dedication, discipline,
Can it
all
be
the D's,
discipline
right?
and devotion?
Sure. As
Wouldn't
long as
that
it
be
whatever, yeah,
better?
I think whatever's going on internally with you, as long as you don't feel like discipline means that you are cracking the whip on yourself, But if it's something that is pushing you forward, then great. I think
You
that
got to
sometimes
do it.
we can get really hard on ourselves. I know, and I know I've had that a little bit, and so that's why I had to back off on the discipline word, So yeah.
So now, what instrument do you play?
Well, instrument wise, I use like a loop station, and you can Google that later. But what that does is that makes you can create like vocal loops live and on the spot. And so I use that, and it's almost like, I would say it's like almost like vocal DJing, if you will. But I'm like beatboxing, and I'm doing like my lyrics and stuff like that. So, but I consider it it's its own kind of instrument. Yeah.
It is, and you are very, very talented. Tell people again where they can get tickets and when the show is coming on. The play will be presented. Now, as you present it on September 20th, will this be the first date where you're? Is this the debut? The world
Yes,
debut?
this is the world premiere, and yeah, we open this coming Friday. Again, it's running from September 20th to October 12th, Fridays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. And then if you are up in the Bay Area, we'll be up there on October 18th through the 20th. We'll be in Sacramento, we'll be in San Francisco, and we'll be in Berkeley. And again, you can go to therootsandwingsproject.com. Again, that is therootsandwingsproject.com. So don't forget the THE, the Roots and Wings
No
Project.com.
roots and wings.
You got it. Yep.
So how can people get involved with that, and what would you suggest they get involved? I mean, how do they get involved? Can get people come and volunteer? Can they, do they look at other people's pieces?
Well, yeah, I think obviously if you attend the event, and if you go to the website, I think there's also some emails and things like that. I think I have an email or two actually. Let's see if I can find it. But yeah, if people are interested in going further, they can certainly reach out to the folks at the Roots and Wings Project, because it's not just me. Remember, I'm just an actor, but yeah, they can learn more there.
Oh, I think you can't just say I'm just an actor. You have to put in I'm just a brilliant actor. I'm just
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
you're a
try. That's
talented
right.
actor. You know,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you have talent. Oh no, no, I'm not gonna let you play yourself down like that. You are brilliant, and it has been my distinct honor and pleasure. Okay, 60 seconds. This is the last 60 seconds. Money is no object. You can get to travel any place in the world. Where you gonna go and who you taking with you?
Ooh, I don't know. I actually want to go to Hawaii if possible, and I want to go to Africa too. I want
Oh,
to.
please,
So one of
please
those two. One of those
go.
two.
Go.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went to Africa. We did a mother love to the motherland trip.
Oh, that
I
sounds
came back
awesome.
a
Yeah.
different person.
Yeah.
It all made sense.
Yeah.
It all
Yeah.
makes sense. And I came back fierce. And I thought I was fierce before. Then I
Mm-hmm.
found out why I'm so fierce. You got to go to the motherland. You got to go to where your people
It's
come
on the
from.
list. Yeah,
And
it's on the list.
Hawaii is beautiful. They
Yeah.
almost had to drug me to get back on the plane and come back to the mainland.
Yeah.
That's how I felt when I went to Africa. I'm at home. I ain't going back. I'm not going back. He was like, you better get your butt on this plane. It has been my distinct honor and pleasure, sir. Just know that as long as I'm here, you got a place to land.
Thank you, Mother Love. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Steve Moyer. You got another one out the park. Okay, ladies and gentlemen,